Well, it's hard to believe we've reached the end of the term. I think it's fitting that we conclude our discussion of business by looking at a relatively recent trend, social media. A valuable tool, but also some potential landmines. The explosion of social media has created a major opportunity for businesses to discover what customers are looking for, both in terms of what they tell others about and by directly asking them on social media. Companies can also directly advertise, and it gives them tremendously increased exposure to the public. The downside, of course, is if a person has a bad experience with a product or service, look out, because everyone they interact with on social media will know. If you ever had a bad experience, say at a restaurant, and you tell your friends about it on Facebook or another site, did you get others agreeing with you? These are things that a company fears. Needless to say, as more companies become more comfortable with social media, they will begin using it for marketing purposes, though, despite the downsides. Companies are also using social media to conduct research on consumer tastes. They're even building communities for specific brands to interact with customers and gather information. Many organizations are developing social media plans to determine opportunities and ID potential customers, as well as figure out exactly what resources they're going to use and how they'll go about doing it. A lot of companies also use social media to hear what people are saying about them and to be able to do damage control if necessary. Your text calls this crisis and reputation management, and uses Walmart as an example of using social media as a public relations tool to repair its reputation from some criticism that had been leveled at it over the years. It really is a great tool, but there are possible pitfalls. I've already mentioned that customers may possibly badmouth the company after a bad experience. The old threat of, not only will I not be back, but neither of my friends will be in here either, takes on a whole new meaning when you consider the reach of social media. So what about employees on social media? Let's look at that. That's a whole different aspect here. A disgruntled employee could do some damage on social media, discussing practices at a company, whether real or made up, and possibly releasing some confidential information. So employers also need to be concerned about privacy, wage and hour issues. Is an employee on the clock if you communicate with them through social media? Safety. What if an employee is using a mobile device while driving? Calls, texting. Somebody gets into an accident while on company time and they're on their cell phone or they're texting somebody, the plaintiff's going to go after the deep pockets of the company. Discrimination. If you're using social media to recruit and you reject somebody who may be in a protected class or disabled, which you discover on social media, you could have a problem. Harassment. A hostile work environment. Employees sexting other employees or supervisors friending people on Facebook and making inappropriate comments to them. The National Labor Relations Act says that you can't interfere with an employee's right to discuss the terms and conditions of their employment, criticize their employer, or to use social media for collective bargaining purposes. There's also various privacy laws that come into play, including actually the Constitution, Labor Code, Stored Communications Act, HIPAA, and the Fair Credit Reporting Act. As I mentioned, most companies have developed policies to head off these problems. Such a policy should include all of these elements, that it applies to all social media activities, and applies to on- and off-duty web use. Specify the permitted use of company resources for social media. Comply with all company policies, that employees be truthful and respectful, that they do not disparage companies, employees, customers, or competitors, and post a disclaimer for company-related comments. They can't use the company logo, trademark, or photos unless it's specifically for company business. And if they use it while on duty, they can't solicit for non-company activities while they are on duty. And you want to specify that only the owner or the CEO can modify this policy in writing. You also want to include the important related policies that might be affected by their use of social media: equal employment opportunity, anti-harassment, treatment of confidential information or trade secrets, electronic communications and internet use, and cell phone use. So training is the key. For employees, you want to make sure that they understand that there's no expectation of privacy, that disciplinary action can result, and if you do allow it at work, that productivity can't be affected. And you want to make sure that they direct any questions to the Human Resource Department. Now, managers get all of the above, and they should be told not to friend employees in social media, use privacy controls in their social media, don't reveal confidential information, don't assume web content is true. Sometimes people put outlandish things on there and you don't want to act as if it is true. And don't discuss performance of current or former employees on the sites. So yes, social media offers great opportunities, but it also has some things that should raise the caution flag for businesses about their interaction with customers in the open arena and about their employees' use of these tools. Well, we've come to the end of the term. Covered a lot of material, and you've done a lot of work. And I thank you for all your hard work this term. I really hope that you now have a good general understanding of how the various components of business fit together to enable the business to provide value to its customers. I also hope that you've got a good understanding of why this knowledge is important to you, no matter what field you choose to enter into, and how it will assist you as a bridge to your career.